posture and ergonomics. These are things that we really need to talk about and look at as a community as a whole, because from that one stat that we talked about earlier, the drastic increase in neck and low back pain, as we're evolving, why are we having all these issues with our back, and why is it creating so much a financial strain on our environment? And we talked about what are we doing all day. So not to say that you can't sit at a computer all day, you can't use your cell phone, you can't play kids can't play video games, but what you want to do is take a little bit of a break or a little bit of a time out and take a look at what you're doing, how you're sitting, and improving your posture and improving your ergonomics is something that, if done with consistency over time, can make huge improvements, not just on the way we look, but on the way we feel. One of the interesting things about sitting in a crouched position, if you think about it, you're reducing your lung capacity. Okay, so if you're sitting and doing this all day, kids are on their computer all day, you're not reaching the full benefits of what your lungs should be doing, because they're squished. And if you're not doing that, we're not getting proper oxygenation to our body. So a society that's going to be doing this all day not only is going to be prone to having neck and back issues, but by not getting proper oxygenation to our bodies, we're decreasing our body's ability to heal and reach our full potential as what we were designed to do, and what we're designed to be. And one of the things we do in our office is we'll actually sometimes take photos of patients in a neutral standing position or to their side, and looking at them at their side. And if you can even do this on your own, have a significant other or a friend. We're always taking pictures of everything on our cell phones. Let's take a picture of ourselves and take a look at our postures. Look at ourselves from a front to back. Is one shoulder a lot higher than the other? Are we leaning toward one side more than the other? There could be some type of a structural imbalance that's causing that posture. To do that, now if we take a look at our posture from our sides, you have somebody take a picture of it. Our ears should be lining up with our shoulder and our hip and our knee. What we're starting to see a lot, it's called forward head carriage. People, they don't realize it, but they're walking around like this. Why are they doing that? Because half the day they're like this. So their muscles and their ligaments are getting trained to be in that flexed or that fixed position. And then when we start to get up in a neutral, upright position, our bodies and our muscles are going to be so used to doing that's what's going to happen. So, take a look at your posture from the side. And there's a lot that you can do to offset that. And again, when we talk about making these changes in our diet and exercise and nutrition, even posture, I always like to talk about consistency over time. Okay, sitting up straight for 1 week isn't going to fix your posture. Sitting up straight, over the course of time, or taking a break from from your computer, every hour or every half hour, just bringing up your shoulders, bring them back, let them relax, open that up. Do the opposite of what we're doing. Those tips and tools over time can play a huge role, not just on the way we look, but also on how we're feeling. We get patients that come in with neck pain all the time. Again, we covered everything, but we're not addressing ergonomics. We're not adjusting their posture. We need to address those types of things to help them reach their full potential. Yoga and Pilates is great. We don't have yoga and Pilates in our practice, but I tell patients all the time this is a great tool to implement into your lifestyle to one, reduce stress. And you get yourself relaxed, and it also improves flexibility and also core strengthening. So, I have a friend who's a yoga instructor, and she would always say, people who say that they can't do yoga the most, like I can't do yoga, I couldn't even imagine doing that. Those are people that need it the most. So if you're one of those people that say I can never do yoga, you should be first in line. Be honest with you, and call around and look for a class that, hey, is there do you have a beginner class? I'd say I've never done yoga before. I have neck and low back pain. I was suggested that yoga could help. Do you do this? If not, do you know somebody that does? And there's a lot of resources out there where you can start to get your foot in the door with yoga, and then eventually into Pilates. So that was really all I had. I want to see how much time I have. We got like 10 minutes. I wanted to spend some time, talking to you guys if anybody had any questions, in regards to, different therapies or different things that, maybe you can do to implement into your own lifestyle. Sure. Stenosis, yeah, stenosis is probably one of the more complicating conditions as a chiropractor, and it's great to start off with that question. No, but stenosis, it can be helped. Okay, stenosis is one of those things that can't be fixed, unfortunately, and it depends on what type of stenosis you have. You can have central canal stenosis, which sometimes is a congenital, pathology that we're dealt with, or sometimes you have what are called intervertebral foramen stenosis. That's where the nerves where the nerves exit the body. Those canals start to decrease over time. That's the central stenosis. So then that's the one that's the more complicated one. So great, thanks. But what you can do, it's not the end of the world, okay? And getting back to what we talked about, let's MRI half these patients. Let's MRI, or all these patients. Half these patients have herniated discs. Half these patients don't. There's people that have stenosis, central canal stenosis, that are asymptomatic. Okay, so what you could do is start looking at different things to improve your overall health and your lifestyle. And specifically, for stenosis, what I tell patients is implement some range of motion, okay, into your back, into your spine. Movement is key, especially when in the back when you have stenosis. If you don't, unfortunately, when stenosis gets bad, it's hard to move, and that's that's where it gets complicated, because if you can't move, okay, and you're not moving, stenosis can progress. So what I'll tell patients in scenarios like that is just do simple range of motion exercises. Just standing up or sitting up nice and straight, slowly turn to the left, and you want to listen to your body. Okay, so when you turn, and this is good. This is a good tip for anybody who's suffering from severe neck or low back pain, whether it's stenosis or not. But if you turn to the left and you start to notice an increased amount of pain, that's your body's way of saying, hey, you went a little bit too far. Okay, so now when you go to the right, pay attention. How far can you go? Ooh, that's sore over there. Okay, I went a little bit too far. So now when you go back to the left, mentally remember where you were and go just right before it. And even if it's a few degrees. Okay, you want to try to implement that pain-free motion to those joints. And you start doing this over and over again, consistency over time, you're going to start to see, oh, I went 5 more degrees without having pain, both ways. And then eventually, you're going to start to get full range of motion in your neck and your lower back. And again, that's great for stenosis or anybody who's having, chronic neck or back pain that feels like they can't do anything. Range of motion is a great place to start. But the key is pain-free. Once you're implementing range of motion to the point where it's painful, you're starting to spike some inflammatory responses. So hopefully that helps. But any other questions? Yes.
You mentioned the problems with sitting at a desk all day.
Yes.
Do you have any opinion on the stand-up desk?
I love it. Yeah. And one of the things, and I'm starting to write more doctor's notes for patients to take to their employer to have a standing desk, and I'm all for it. Well, one of the things too you want to keep in mind is, sure, you don't want to be seated, but now if you're standing, you want to make sure you're standing properly. Okay, so when you're standing all day, okay, or how many hours you're going to want to do it, I'll tell patients, break it up a little bit. If you have the option to sit and stand, it's going to be great, because now if you have to stand for 8 hours, what are you going to do? Okay, now what are you doing? You're going to end up with an SI or a hip issue. So when you're standing, one of the important things to think about, and I'll tell patients, is put equal weight into both feet. Okay, you don't want to shift. And if you feel like you're shifting, that means you need to take a little bit of a break. You're standing too long. And another tip, not just putting equal weight into both feet, is give a little bit of a bend in your knees. And when you do that, you start to engage other muscles than just the muscles in your back. Right now I'm using my quadricep muscles, I'm using my calves, I'm using my glutes, so I have a strong stance. So if you're going to be standing for an extended period of time, stand in the way. If someone's going to come push you, you're not going to move. If you're standing and someone's going to bump into you, you're going to fall over, you're not using your auxiliary muscles. Now you're starting to use you're using your back muscles more. So I think it's a great option to implement, into a work setting where where you can do both, or you can do one or the other if you're using them properly. Digestive issue, you always want to look at the source, okay? And this is an individualized answer. So, so we have to look at, well, why do you have this? Okay, why are your discs degenerating? And these are the questions that I would be asking you. And most common answers are, I don't know. It's just the way, just over time, this is what happened to me. So, you want to cover the basic fundamentals that we talked about, but degenerative disc disease specifically, I'm looking at hydration. How much water are you drinking? Usually if these discs are going to start to break down, that nucleus pulposus isn't hydrated the way that it should be, and you're going to be prone to disc disease. Another common thing is, posture. Okay, when our posture is off, over time, it creates a specific strain or an imbalance in certain areas of our body that wasn't designed to handle that particular positioning. So maybe that particular posture has put extra strain on those discs that's caused that disc to degenerate. Supplementation is good. Glucosamine, is a good supplement to help slow down that degenerative process. But even looking at your diet, putting healthy foods into your diet and eliminating the healthy foods out of, taking those out of your diet. So there's a lot that can be done. Unfortunately, when something is degenerated, whether it's your disc or there's an arthritic condition that's taken place, you just can't take an eraser and say, okay, I'm going to get rid of these arthritic conditions. But you can slow that process down, and you can manage it accordingly. I always like to try to see, well, what's the root of it? And then if we know what the root of it is, let's focus on that root of why this is happening, and then that's where some positive changes can take place. I just want to keep an eye on time. Maybe I can grab one more question. Yep, we got 2 minutes left, so take one more question. Oh man, all right, you still kept your hand up, so you must have a real good question. Yeah.
CBD oil. I'm sorry.
CBD oil, yes, it's a great question. And I'll take yours too. If I go over, they're not going to throw me out, I don't think. But anyway, CBD oil, yes, I'm an advocate of it. Unfortunately, for some reason in New York State, we're not licensed to sell it in our office. And the reason for that is, I believe that maybe there's some type of contraindication with certain medications. And and as chiropractors, when we go to chiropractic college, our first years, we're right on pace with like the medical profession and what we're studying from anatomy and physiology, and then we branch off into adjustive techniques and different things specific to chiropractors. Whereas the medical profession, they get more involved in pharmaceuticals. So we don't have that pharmaceutical background. So it's tough for us as chiropractors to say this is great for everybody, because there might be something, some type of medication that you're taking that we're not aware of as chiropractors because we don't have proper training in it to say this is great for you. But in general, for most people, I'm a fan of it. I think it's a natural way to help heal the body. And I think you were the other one, yes.
Yeah, just in general, what
Yeah.
can you tell me about trigger points?
Trigger points, yes. Trigger points. So what a trigger point is? Okay, that's a good. We'll start with that. Trigger point is an accumulation of lactic acid in a muscle. Okay, our muscles have a specific amount of lactic acid in them that's supposed to help our muscles work properly and naturally throughout the course of the day. When a muscle gets overused, or there's injury or trauma to the muscle, lactic acid is going to formulate a trigger point. And those trigger points are actually, in a way, designed to help that muscle compensate for that particular injury. So whatever that source of why that muscle is doing that, why that lactic acid is accumulating into that trigger point, should be the number one reason why, the number one focus of why we're treating that trigger point. Okay, maybe it's posture or whatever the case may be, but there's different things that you can do to relieve, the effects from trigger point. So, massage is great. Now I talk about those massage tools. Putting that on a trigger point for a minute, waiting a couple minutes, reapplying it again, take a break. Do that like 3 times. Okay, that's going to help disperse that lactic acid. Now when you start to get that lactic acid dispersed, the next thing you need to do is start to drink a lot of water. Okay, when you go for a massage, the massage therapist should always tell you, make sure you drink a lot of water. And the reason for drinking that water is to help keep that lactic acid spread consistently throughout that muscle. If we don't drink a lot of water, that lactic acid is going to formulate right back to that trigger point. But again, working on your trigger point is great to help reduce tension, but then you also want to look at, what the source of that trigger point. Why are you getting that trigger point? Why is that muscle having an imbalance? Why is that developing? Okay, all right. So I think I'm done for now. I'm going to be hanging out at the booth over there if anybody has any specific questions. So is this helpful?